What's Robert Kiyosaki's definition of asset? His definition is anything that put money in your pocket is asset. Anything that take money out of your pocket is liability. Now with that in mind, is car an asset or liability? How many of you say liability? Oh, wow, a lot. How many of you say asset? Okay, and the rest of you? How many of you say don't know? Okay, when I was in Indonesia about slightly more than a month ago, I was asking a class, a pretty big class as well. I said, how many of you say car is a liability? Well, almost the whole class raised their hands. I said, how many of you say car is an asset? One young gentleman, teenage boy, seated right at the back of the room, very shy, raised only half a hand. Say like that. I say, why do you say car is an asset? He says, because I rent out my car. So when I rent out my car, does it put money in my pocket? Yeah, it does. So it's not about the car, it's how you use it. True or true? So with that in mind, how many of you say, is children an asset or liability? How many of you say children is an asset? This must be parents. How many of you say children are liability? Again, I leave it to you to decide. I know most people tell me current liability, but you pray and hope very hard. One day they become your asset. True or true? So I leave you to decide for yourself, okay? So, moving forward, how many of you say property is an asset? Woo, quite a lot. How many of you say property is a liability? Wow, only one. And then the rest of us, don't know. I covered all three answers already. So you all must raise hands for one of them. One more time. How many of you say property is an asset? Good. How many of you say property is a liability? How many of you don't know? Good. Now let's be very specific. When we own our first house, most of them, do we stay in the house? Yeah, we stay in the house. So when you stay in the house, is that an asset or liability? Why is that a liability? Yeah, because you owe the bank money, right? So it's a liability, right? Because when you stay in the house, you owe bank money. Does money goes into your pocket? No, it doesn't. But does money goes out of your pocket? Yes, it does. So as long as you stay in the house, your house is a liability. Now, since you stay in the house is a liability. Should you stay in a big house or small house? Yeah, better stay in a small house, right? But Chinese or Asians cannot, right? Face very important, All bank a lot of money, never mind. Must be show big, right? True. Okay, let's go one step further. Some people can tell me, Yang Po, I pay off all my loan already. And because I pay off all my loans, so my house is now an asset. How many of you say when you pay off all your loan now it's an asset? How many of you say you pay off is still a liability? Wow, good. How many of you say don't know? Wow, okay, good. Now let's analyze together. When you fully paid for the loan, does it still put money in your pocket? No, but does it continue to take money out of your pocket? What goes out? Maintenance, property tax, utility, repair, true or true? So, if the house you stay in, although fully paid for, it is still a liability. Why are we in such a hurry to pay off our house? True or true? We are in a hurry to pay off because our parents tell us this. Don't owe the bank money, right? Owing bank money is no good, right? That's why we quickly pay. But it's because you quickly pay. Even after you pay, it is still a liability. So why be in a hurry to pay? In fact, if it's still a liability, slowly pay. True or true? And use the money and go and make money elsewhere. Isn't that better? Yeah, that's the reason why today, despite China, India having the most population, our economy combined can't even compete with US. It's because our parents tell us that don't owe bank money. True or true? But the fact of the matter is this. There's such thing called good debt. There's this thing called bad debt. So when the house you're staying in is a liability, don't be in a hurry to pay. Let's go one step further. Some people can tell me, say, Yang Po, I managed to finally rent out my house. So now my house is an asset. How many of you say when you rent out your house is an asset? How many of you say still liability? How many of you don't know? Okay, now let's analyze together. In fact, when I was in Jakarta about more than a month ago, I met up with a good old friend. Never met for many, many years. So good old friend, meet up, catch up, you update each other, right? What you've been doing with one another in the past. So he proudly told me, Yang Po, I own 4 properties. Should you be very proud when you own 4 properties? No, you should not be very proud. You should be very, very, very proud. Most of us are struggling to even own 1. To own 4, you should be very, very proud. So I say, wow, congratulations, congratulations. Well done, man. Wow, I managed to own 4 property. So being a typical property investor, I asked him another question. I said, how many % return do you get for your property? He says, well, I stay in one of my property and then I rent out the 3. Don't talk about my property. He says, Indonesia as a whole, the returns that you get from the property, the rental is about 5%. Is 5% good? Not bad, huh? Singapore also about that. In fact, globally also about there. I say, wow, pretty good. Then I ask one more question. How many % interest do you pay to the bank? Any wild guesses how many % they pay? Huh? What? Wow, 20, we should go very, very fast, very high. He actually pays 18% to the bank. Now, let's do the maths. When you put in 5% and you take out 18%, do you make money or lose money? Lose. You lose how many %? You lose 13%. But you know, you meet out with good friends, he's so proud he owns 4 property, you don't go and burst his ego, correct or not? You don't go and say, well, you know, but you're losing money. So I kept quiet. But something I cannot control. My face color changed. And then he noticed the change, you know. He says, but Yang Po, don't worry. Indonesia, our property increased very fast one. Our capital gain very good one. So I said, good. So tell me, 3 years down the road, how many % increase can your property go? He said 3 years, maybe 3 years about 30%. 3 years, 30%, is that good? It's good. In Singapore, sometimes we don't even see that. But let's do the maths, okay? When you lose 13% for 1 property, 3 property, because you rent out 3, right? So for 3 years, how much do you lose? Yeah, 3 years, you actually lose 39%. So even when you have a capital gain of 30%, do you still make money or lose money? Lose. You still lose how much? You still lose 9%. So who says you rent out your property is an asset? In fact, in this case, the more property you own, the more property you lose. The more property you own, the more money you lose. The more property you own, the more liability you have. So it doesn't mean when you rent out it's an asset.